I rise tonight in opposition to Senate Bill 1175. This morning, I was proud to participate in a rally held right here within the rotunda of the Capitol. In fact, the People's House. They epitomize James 5 and 4, crying out, "The wages you have failed to pay the workers who have mowed your fields are crying out against you." In this crowd of hundreds of Michigan citizens, there was no way for me to determine whose district they were from, but our kinship was no less. I was honored to join them and demand their right to care for their families in the event of illness, without worrying if they would be able to put food on the table. Those here today represent millions of Michiganders who wonder how this body could possibly preempt their ability to earn paid sick leave with the bill passed in this chamber before November the 6th, now being gutted at the people's expense. What a waste of time and resources. Our citizens are disgusted by the underhanded tactics being employed by this body to rob them of what this body passed, knowing that our citizens' salaries are a mere fractions of ours in this body. Yet we receive free paid sick time without answering to anyone. Out of frustration, sometimes those who are constantly on the losing end of this divisive policies link every legislator together and say that representatives are seeking to take away their ability to survive. And that's why it was incumbent upon me and my colleagues from Ann Arbor and Romulus to join in their protests, and all of us here today that is standing against this divisive policies to protest and demonstrate that not all members are seeking to violate public trust while siding with corporations. We are in fact standing with them. The unfortunate reality is that those most vulnerable to illness, those who can't afford the preventative medical care they need, are the same Michigan residents who will see their right to paid sick leave stripped away by this bill. Passing Senate Bill 1175, hundreds of thousands of Michiganders will have to continue working while sick in our local restaurants, at our children's daycare facilities, or even in a doctor's clinic. This bill is an assault on the thousands of working families across the state who have loved ones that they need to care for, which is oddly disproportionately impacting women who are also disproportionately represented in this body. But from the trend you saw this year, that will change too. For many of these families, passage of this bill will rob them of their freedom to take care of themselves and their loved ones without sacrificing financial security. The question that they have asked me to pose to each of you is, under what circumstances would you be willing to relinquish your paid sick time? However, I had to explain to them, we fall under different guidelines. Our pay isn't impacted if we have to stay home with the flu or surgery or illness. We operate under the honor system. We may like to think of ourselves as honorable, but there is no honor when we treat Michigan citizens differently than we treat ourselves. For fear of colleague shaming, I won't ask you to raise your hand if you want to relinquish your right to free paid sick time. These bills today are a reflection, though, however, of the evolution of representative democracy weakened by extremism, which has become more reflective of selective oligarchy, with members acting primarily in the interests of corporations and the wealthy. Not only is this evil and unjust, it only widens the fracture that leave our state's economic system vulnerable to the prey of poverty and recession. We say we want competitiveness, but your actions demonstrate that and couldn't be farther from the truth. Serving in this body, one would reason that our politics are a reflection of the quote that we are the sum total of our experiences. Maybe it's easy for you to conspire against more than 400,000 Michigan citizens because you never had to be the sole caretaker or provider of your children, having to make the decision whether to go to work sick or to leave your child homesick, or perhaps deem the political gain more beneficial to inclining your ear to the voice of the people. The welfare of the people should be at the epicenter of this body's actions. They are the foundation of justice. They should be our cornerstone. These nefarious actions and dealings demonstrate this body has closed its mind and having a willingness to intentionally circumvent the purest form of democracy through referendum, and hence the will of the people to only promulgate austerity. This bill aborts justice in its infancy. In my closing, know that you can only pretend for so long. You can only mask your ill will for so long. You can only fool the people for so long. In middle school, I was taught a very important life lesson in what seemed to be a very simple riddle by my favorite math teacher, Mr. Waldron. I was often shared this also with my middle school students. He would say with a smile, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Those whose dealings continue to rob Michigan citizens by these oppressive bills are not only lame ducks, they are dishonest ducks. I urge my colleagues to stand with the people of Michigan and to vote no against this oppressive bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative.